You know, the dream of living forever, it's as old as humanity itself. It's in our myths, our legends, our religions. But here's the thing, it's not just a dream anymore. It's quickly becoming a very real scientific and technological goal. So how exactly are we planning to pull it off? Well, there are two major paths people are exploring, and they are both pretty radical.
Just think about that for a second. An AI echo of you. We're not just talking about adding a few more years to your life, but creating a version of your consciousness that could, theoretically, exist forever. And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi movie plot. This is the new frontier, and it's forcing us to ask some of the biggest questions we've ever had to face.
All right, so let's dive into the first path, the physical one. This is all about hacking our own biology, literally trying to stop the clock. For the first time, scientists aren't just focused on treating the diseases of old age. They're going after the aging process itself.
Okay, so one of the biggest villains in the story of aging is something called cellular senescence. You can basically think of these as zombie cells. Now, on one hand, it's good they stop dividing. That helps prevent cancer. But the problem is they don't die. They just hang around like bad party guests, spewing out all this inflammatory gunk that damages all the healthy, normal cells around them. The more of these zombie cells you build up, the older your body gets.
So how do you actually fight these zombie cells? Well, there are two big ideas on the table right now. First, you've got Senolytics. These are basically cell assassins, drugs designed to hunt down and eliminate these zombie cells for good. Then there's the other approach, xenomorphics. These are a bit more subtle. They don't actually kill the cells, they just shut them up, suppressing all the harmful stuff they secrete. One's a bouncer, the other's a negotiator.
But hey, it's not just about zombie cells. We're talking about a full-on assault on aging from every angle. We're looking at gene therapy to fix our DNA, telomere extension to protect our chromosomes from fraying. The list goes on. But here's the catch for all of this amazing science. Going from a successful lab experiment to a treatment that's safe and available for everybody, that is a huge, huge leap.
And stem cell therapy? Man, this one is a real potential game changer. You can think of them as the body's blank slates, these master cells that can become any kind of specialized cell we need. The dream here is to use them as a biological repair kit, to regenerate damaged organs and basically make old tissues young again.
Okay, but what if fixing our bodies is missing the point? What if the real key to forever is leaving our bodies behind entirely? That brings us to the second, and arguably even more mind-bending path, creating a digital afterlife.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make. We're not talking about zapping your actual consciousness into a computer, at least not yet. Instead, this is about creating an incredibly detailed AI echo of you. An avatar that's been trained on everything you've ever written, said, or posted, so it can think, react, and talk just like you would.
So how does this even work? Well, it's basically a four-step process. First, you gather all the data, every email, photo, social media post, into something called a mind file. Then an AI chews through all that data to build a model of who you are. Next, you activate that model with a large language model to bring it to life. And finally, you give it a body, so to speak, a chatbot, a voice, or even a full VR avatar that people can actually talk to.
And the wild part is, this isn't hypothetical. It's happening right now. We're entering this really strange new world where we can interact with digital ghosts, AI versions of people who are no longer physically here.
And these digital ghosts, they come in a few different flavors. On one end, you have legacy avatars. This is where a person actively participates in creating your own digital twin to leave a legacy. Then you've got private grief bots, which are often made by family members after someone passes away to help with the grieving process. And then there's the really murky area, celebrity simulations, which are built from public data for entertainment, and the whole question of consent gets complicated.
But here's the thing, there's a huge catch. No matter how advanced they are, these systems are still just really, really good at matching patterns. And that can lead to something called the uncanny valley of identity. It's that creepy feeling you get when something is almost human, but not quite. The avatar will be perfect, answering just like your loved one would, and then it says something just a little off, and boom, the illusion is shattered, and it can be really jarring.
And again, this stuff is already out in the wild. In China, people are using what they call grief avatars to reunite with relatives at festivals. In a pretty landmark case, a court in Arizona actually allowed an AI version of a murder victim to give a statement at the killer's sentencing.
And of course, there are startups popping up everywhere that will help you build your own digital twin right now.
All right, so with all this mind-blowing technology, both biological and digital, we have to talk about the really heavy stuff, the ethics. What's the real price of living forever?
This chart does a great job of mapping out the potential nightmares, especially for digital immortality. Just look at that top right corner, the stuff that's both really likely and really severe. We're talking about serious psychological dependency, where people can't move on with their grief. And then there's commercial exploitation. Can you imagine getting a sales pitch from an AI version of your deceased grandmother? It's a very real and very disturbing possibility.
And what this shows us is that you can't just slap a tech fix on these problems. They're all tangled up together. You've got the psychological impact, the ethical questions around who gives consent, our deep cultural beliefs about death, and the technology itself. Everything is connected. You can't solve one without thinking about the others.
So, this all leaves us with some incredibly tough questions. Questions we really need to start figuring out now. For the body hacking stuff, who gets to live longer? Is this just going to create a new class of immortal elites? And for the digital side, who owns you after you're gone? Who controls your digital ghost? How do we protect grieving families from being taken advantage of? These are the real deal questions we have to answer.
Which brings it all back to a really personal, fundamental question. If you had the choice right now, what would you pick? Would you put your faith in biology and try to repair your body to make this one life last as long as possible? Or would you take a leap of faith into the digital world and upload your mind to live on as a ghost in the machine? It's a wild choice, and there's no easy answer.